Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Laura Wineflash, and I want to welcome you to Building a Digital Payment Strategy Your Customers Will Love. And I really appreciate you taking the time. We'll spend a couple minutes talking a little bit about how digital payments are transforming the market, and whether you're leading digital payments strategy at your financial institution or you're in charge of it at a commercial business or other entity, welcome. And we'll spend some time really talking about payment strategy and what's happening in the digital world, and go from there. So next slide, please. All right, and the next slide, please. So I'd like to first talk a little bit about what is happening in the marketplace in 2020. It's been a heck of a year. I don't know how many of you have looked at either yourself or your family members and seen how payments have really changed in the landscape and how you interact with payments. I can give a couple of examples as a consumer, right? I never thought anything of, going to an ATM and keying in my PIN pad, or going to the checkout at the grocery store and entering my rewards number on a PIN pad, and then entering my credit card, paying with a credit card. And now I have completely changed since March, where I'm using my phone and or my card, but not actually interacting or touching the actual device, right? So that's an example of behavior that has changed. And we've seen, according to FIS, they did a study and found earlier this year that 45% of banking customers have changed their banking habits. So I'm not alone in that we've seen as a result of the coronavirus, people are just definitely changing how they interact. We also see that cash is on its way out. 22% of consumers have reduced their use of cash during a pandemic. We also see this, and many of you probably have seen this if you were, for example, going to pick up a meal for your family at a local family restaurant or something like that, where you may see signs that they're no longer taking cash due to COVID. They don't want their employees to be touching the cash, but instead will take card payments. So again, another example of how digital payments have become the norm as opposed to cash and other payment forms. And then we also see that according to ITA, 50% of US consumers now send and receive digital payments at least 2 times a month. And that is pretty remarkable to see that type of behavior changing as consumers are getting more comfortable with digital payments, and it's become a necessity in life. Next slide, please. And so I'm just going to spend a little bit of time. I'm with Early Warning, and we are behind the Zelle network. And we have really seen from a Zelle perspective how Zelle has become an everyday essential for customers who need to send money or receive money very fast directly into their bank account or credit union, their share draft account. But what we're seeing is that that is really transforming how Americans are paying. Next slide, please. And so just a little background about as Zelle has become an essential everyday part of consumers' lives and small business lives, this just gives an overview of what Zelle is. And we are, one, a technology provider. We have an alias-based directory where we maintain cell phone numbers and emails associated with consumers and businesses and their bank accounts or credit union accounts. We provide immediate messaging, so you have the appearance as a consumer or business that the money is pulled out of your account in real time, and the person could be standing next to me and I'm able to pay them in near real time. So it's that instant messaging that's happening, which is solving a big pain point. And then we also provide fraud and risk management, so that we try to help people from preventing fraud, and also preventing from falling for scams, as we've seen in the news, puppy dog scams, where people may be thinking that they're getting a puppy dog, for example, and there's really sending money to a scammer or other types of scams. So those are examples of what we provide from a technology perspective, our participants. And then we also manage the network, which includes managing the operating rules. We oversee that. We provide governance and rulemaking for the Zelle network. And then we support multiple use cases. For example, we support P2P, so we support disbursements and small business payments. So for example, in P2P, we've been tracking like how are people using Zelle, and one of the big use cases since COVID has been to pay neighbors for groceries. We saw that an uptick in March where neighbors were helping neighbors and going out and doing a grocery store run and helping especially the elderly and people that may have conditions that don't want to be exposed. So we're able to provide that. Disbursements is another great use case. We see all these tragic wildfires. We see a couple hurricanes coming right now. And oftentimes people may have their home, for example, in a fire, could be completely demolished. Well, how do you get that payment to them? Zelle is a great option where a lot of insurance companies are able to send money and it is deposited directly into that consumer's account and not have to try to figure out, well, how are we going to get this payment to them because their home is no longer there, their mailbox is no longer there, we cannot get that payment to them. So that's another example. And then small business, of course, we see lots of small businesses using it. I have a neighbor that owns a plumbing company, and they have, he has 3 plumbers that work for him on the road, and he is a big fan of digital payments, specifically Zelle, where his folks are able to collect payments as they complete the job. They don't even have to, they can socially distance, they don't have to touch a check, for example, or accept a card payment, but they're able to provide their token, their cell phone or email address, and get paid immediately as that job is complete, which saves that small business a lot of time from going and collecting. My neighbor, as the owner, has to collect the payments from the 3 other plumbers, go collect them, and then go to the bank and make a deposit, or they could if there's cash involved. And so that takes up time where they are may not have that time. So those are some examples of how the use cases that we solve for. And then the third thing that Zelle is a brand. It provides ubiquity for consumers, so consumers understand when they sign up for Zelle through their financial institution or directly with the common mobile app, where those consumers, banks, or credit unions aren't participating in Zelle yet. They're able to understand what that means, and they can communicate with others, regardless where they bank, what Zelle means from a ubiquity perspective. We also provide consistent user experience and fast funds, which are very important as people are looking to get paid immediately and have access to those funds immediately. Next slide, please. All right, so just a little bit, since 2017, I feel like the industry has come together and really worked hard to enable Zelle as a digital platform, digital network. Not over 900 financial institutions, that includes small community banks to large financial institutions, credit unions, are all participating, and we have over 900 signed and 600 live today. And as well, we have over 7,000 financial institutions in the US, consumers that are using Zelle. So if for some reason that financial institution has not signed up, that customer of theirs can sign up and register their debit card with the Zelle Common Mobile app. And so we are seeing transactions from over 7,000 financial institutions. During the first 6 months this year, we had another great record. We saw a 60% increase in dollars of transactions, with $133 billion going through Zelle. And we see that people are continuing to use this, as we saw enrollment of Zelle increase in the first half of 2020 by 17%, which was, again, was great numbers, and we expect to see that continue. Next slide. So as you're thinking about your digital strategy, what I think it's really important to understand, what are your customers saying about this, and what do they want, and really paying particular attention. One of the things that we saw in this first bullet provided by SunWest Federal Credit Union is initially they took a kind of, hey, let's wait and see if, for the approach for Zelle. And what they did then, and I encourage everyone that is not participating in Zelle to go look at your data, your customers. And they went and they searched what were their customers searching for when they were online. And they found the number one thing that was coming in their website was Zelle. And so that really helped change their minds. So I think that's really important, whether you're considering Zelle or whether you're just trying to understand what are your customer behaviors. We also see customers looking at financial institutions looking at their customers. How are they behaving? Going in and looking at their DDA patterns. Are they seeing transfers going to other services? Are they seeing customers opening multiple accounts instead of just one account being the primary account? Those are all interesting things that can help provide insight. What is your customer service area? That's oftentimes a very rich place to collect data about what your customers or members are saying. So I encourage you to look at that type of data. We also see that there are two other benefits. One is from Fiserv Focus Group. They shared a couple different feedback points. One is Zelle is direct, and meaning it goes directly into the bank account. And so the idea is, if you want to get your funds as a consumer or a small business as quickly as possible, Zelle is a great way to do that, because it's deposited, the money is put into your bank account immediately. So you don't have to have a third-party account, excuse me, that then transfers to that bank or credit union share draft. And so Zelle allows customers to do that, your customers to do that. And then certainly from another benefit that we're hearing is, many times customers are getting used to, especially with a COVID world, digital channels, but they may not be completely comfortable with that. And so being able to know that there's someone that they can talk with, whether that's driving down the block to visit the local branch and have a conversation with them if they need help, or contacting someone, that's very important to folks. And we see that people are saying that about that. Next slide. So some of the key benefits to digital payments are, from a consumer perspective, the biggest things are, hey, it's really easy to use, and that's really important. So regardless of what digital payments you enable, making it so easy to use and really understanding from the customer perspective, what do they need? How do we make it as easy as possible and very intuitive? Another benefit is making the funds available in minutes. We say oftentimes it can be less than minutes, but we will, from a Zelle perspective, we make the funds available within minutes. And then making sure that there's control and transparency over the payments, and there's transaction certainty. That's really important to know that the funds have left if I'm paying someone, or the funds have been received. So I can see that immediately. If I go to check my online banking account, I can see that the money's come out or the money's been received in near real time. And then I like the convenience of being able to do this anytime, right? It can be on the weekends, it could be in the middle of the night. Whenever I have time to make a payment, remember to make that payment, for example, I'm able to do that. And then from a business perspective, businesses certainly see the benefit of Zelle because it improves the cash flow for them. They're able to get paid immediately. So in my example of my friend that has the plumbing business, they're able to see when they finish the job that they've got paid, and they don't have to worry about, oh, if they were paid by a check, is that check going to bounce or return if they don't know that person, right? or that ACH transaction will not return. This is good funds model, so the business has better cash flow insights. They know that there's certainty associated with that transaction. They can reduce the costs of handling cash and check. In the plumber example, having to go out and collect that from each of the plumbers, it's a lot of work, right, from a business owner, and they have to schedule things, and this really reduces a lot of that friction. And then there's also, you know, the convenience, and then the messaging, being able to have that information that you can provide messaging back and forth to provide value-added services to the businesses. And then finally, for financial institutions, the biggest benefit for Zelle or other digital payments is really that engagement. You're increasing your customer engagement, which keeps them engaged with you. Increases loyalty, increases customer sat scores. We've seen NPS scores, or whatever scores you may use, significantly increase as a result of offering digital payments like Zelle. We also have revenue opportunities from Zelle. That could be, for example, offering small business. You can charge your small businesses something to use the service. We see benefits of modernizing fraud and risk systems. Oftentimes those were day 2 systems. They're now moving to real-time risk decisioning, which is very beneficial to help reduce fraud and scams across payments, not just Zelle. And then there's also counterparty risk that is reduced, and the check and cash handling costs. So again, lots of benefits to each of the stakeholders in digital payments. Next slide. And then just leave you with some final thoughts. We really see, especially in this COVID world, that digital is the new norm. It's no longer, a year ago at conferences, I might hear people thinking, well, I'm not sure if I'm, what type of investments we're making in digital, or it's on our roadmap. We've really seen the pendulum swing, and it is the new norm. And so it's really important not just to be a competitive differentiator, but you have to be there as a key strategy to service your customers. The next thing is really to focus on your customer experience and really focus on what your customers want, understanding their pain points, making it as simple as possible while reducing friction, keeping it safe. It's really important, else they will go someplace else. And then the third thought is really to focus on spreading the word. IT did a study and found that up to 20% of consumers were unaware of what the bank had to offer in terms of digital experiences and digital capabilities. So that's really important to focus on that and make sure that your customers are aware of the services that you do offer. So if you do offer Zelle, make sure they're aware of it and continue to market that or offer that. And then we also see digital payments are a value driver. If you look at your customers who are digitally engaged, I think you'll see something, which is they're typically more engaged, they typically will use more solutions, and that there will be additional future revenue opportunities as we look at digital payments. So with that, I leave those final thoughts. I'll go ahead and see if there are any questions. All right. And I'm not seeing any questions, and I think we're just about at time. So if you have any other questions, on the next slide is a way that you can reach me. If there are any follow-up questions, I'd be happy to chat. And thank you so much for your time.